What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Horror Realm Radio, the show that won't stay dead. I'm your host, Mike Exler, along with Rich Delzato, as always. Rich, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Mike?
I'm doing good, man. I'm excited for this episode. So I'm just going to let you take it over and we'll get right into it.
All right. Well, thanks for letting me take it over because we know that always goes well, but I'll do my
It's
best.
best for business.
Anyway, this is a special episode. We've got a very good friend of Horror Realm and just a very good friend in general tonight with us, T-Shirt Joe from Fast Custom Shirts. How are you doing, Joe?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Oh, it's exciting to have you here. I thought we might physically be seeing each other more than once this year, so it's nice to be able to do this with you.
Yeah, for sure.
How's everything in Texas?
Everything's about like it is everywhere else. You know, there's a whole lot of uncertainty, but we've had a very mild winter, which I'm happy for because I hate the cold. But, everybody's just doing what they can and trying to get by.
Good. Well, looks like you're ready for the holidays, but I do see a little bit of blood splatter on some things back there too, so it's a nice combination. We should have had Lisa on here too.
Yeah, she's responsible for the Christmas decor. She knocks that out every year as soon as she can. And yeah, we've got always have horror representation throughout the house, here in the living room, and the mantle and everything.
Nice. Very nice. Well, for those who don't know Joe, Joe has been coming to Pittsburgh for Horror Realm since we began 10 years ago or however long it's been. I believe he drove to Pittsburgh the first time to do the show.
Yeah, I sure did. That's quite a drive.
How long of a drive was it?
How many hours?
It may have been 16 hours, maybe longer. I don't recall.
Wow. So, well, Joe puts out a great line of T-shirts, including our convention T-shirts, which I think this is reading backwards, but that does say Horror Realm. So, and I believe today, while we're taping this, is actually the birthday of Fast Custom Shirts. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been making shirts for 13 years, but 11 years ago I registered the business and opened my doors as an official business. So yeah, it's actually today's the Fast Custom Shirts birthday.
Well, happy birthday, Fast Custom Shirts.
Thanks. Glad we made it this far.
Very cool.
How'd you end up getting into the business?
I got sick of what I was doing in real life. I worked with juvenile offenders for several years, and I liked that work. I just didn't like a lot of the people that I was working with. It's a really important job, and unfortunately, it's filled with a lot of people that don't care about what they're doing. So I just couldn't deal with that much anymore. I had a friend that was a entrepreneur. He's always trying something different, and he helped me get everything started and go my own way. So I couldn't have done it without him. In fact, the first time that I took that drive to Pittsburgh, he went with me. So he was there with me working the table.
I was Taka?
No, it's my friend Poke.
Poke. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was kind of a driving force behind your start.
Oh yeah. He helped me out quite a bit. Gave me, and still to this day gives me advice whenever I need it.
Nice. I remember he was a fixture in the VHS room that weekend.
Yeah.
Very good. You have any questions for Joe about the business, Mike?
Yeah. What made you decide screen printing, actually? There's, a bunch of printing aspects out there. I actually have a degree in graphic communications, which I don't use at all. But what drew you to the screen printing process?
Part of it is I do art myself, but I am ridiculously slow at it. And I know you can't make a whole lot of money at art. So I figured this would kind of cross the bridge. It would allow me to be somewhat creative and just do things I want to. I've always, really liked horror shirts, but there wasn't many places that you could get at least the stuff I wanted to wear on a horror shirt. So that definitely helped influence me.
Nice.
So
Go ahead. Sorry, Mike, please.
No, go ahead, Rich. It's all you.
Oh, I was just going to ask. I know you do more than just the horror shirts, and of course, we'll be sharing how people can find your site and get in touch with you. I've used you for my professional life, for T-shirts and things like that. Did you get into this thinking horror shirts would be your thing, and then kind of segue into that, or were you more generalized and the horror was for the fun side of things?
The horror is definitely for the fun side of things. I probably couldn't be able to sustain my business if I just focused on horror. There's, it's a niche thing. It's just us guys that were probably like outcasts, misfits in school and things like that that were into the scary and dark stuff. And still, even though it's a little bit more mainstream now, I think there's still not enough to where I could sustain at least a comfortable life. So I have to do things like do stuff for little leagues, businesses, churches, stuff like that, and that's how I pay my bills. But I do this stuff I tell everybody to stay sane. I do the stuff I want just to counterbalance. So I don't feel such a sellout all the time, I guess.
Nice.
So during a normal con year, what's some of the craziest shit that you've seen from behind the table, man? Like you've had to seen some crazy stuff. No names or places, just some general things that you've seen.
I wasn't prepared for that question. The crazy stuff, I guess, is some of the just outrageous costumes that people get out there with. I mean, they've got to dedicated months and months into putting some of this stuff together. And then I've seen some incredibly revealing costumes with the women that are out there wearing next to nothing, which I'm all for. That's great, but it's like, wow, I didn't expect to see this out here, not to that extent. But aside from some of the revelry and drunkenness that goes on, I mean, everybody at the horror conventions are really cool with each other. It's probably the nicest crowd that I've been around. I can go to like a comic book show and people can be incredibly rude and just shitty to each other or anybody around them. So, I mean, you would think at a horror show you'd see some like really bad stuff happen, but I really haven't.
Well, that's good. That's always nice to hear, especially from someone that does so many shows. That's a nice large sample size, if you will. Rich, did you have another question?
Yeah, no, this is one that's always kind of, and I've meant to ask you this in our private conversations. I'm always curious from that view from behind the table. I know I like to go around and talk to some of the vendors after the show or, the months following, because you guys do have a unique perspective and can see maybe some of the things we're missing because we're running around with our heads cut off and all that good stuff. And I would imagine you have a lot of opinions after sitting on that side of the table. Do you find that you're able to help some promoters who are open-minded to that and kind of put your fingerprint on some of the shows?
Some of the things that you see like behind, like I like talking to fellow fans, so that's one of the great things about doing the shows is I've got to meet so many people from throughout the nation that have the same interests in me or have guided me to stuff that I didn't even know about that's really cool. But going from city to city or state to state, you see, oh, there's your friend again.
Oh yeah, he's back.
That's creepy, man.
It's so terrible.
As I was saying, you see like what tastes really predominate that area of the state or the country. It's like in Pittsburgh, of course, Romero's king. It's like you can pretty much take anything that's Romero related and people are going to eat that up. So like over here, anything Texas Chainsaw Massacre of the like is going to be a primary seller for anybody. So I've noticed that even in the horror community, people have a regional pride, which I think is really cool and interesting.
That's pretty cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. That by location, you would want to kind of set your inventory for a show. I'm always curious from a vendor side, do you ever look at a guest list and set your inventory by that? Or do you just usually take what you want to, what you have?
Uh, like I'm a horrible business person, so I don't look at the guest list until maybe a few days before I'm about to take off. And then I think, oh man, I
Nice.
should probably take this and this and this. If I was smarter at what I do, I would definitely do that.
Yeah, I think there's been a couple times that I've picked you up at the airport and you've asked me who the guests are.
Yeah, it's really at a show like Horror Realm or some of the other ones that I really enjoy doing. To me, it doesn't matter who's there because I get to see like a lot of friends that are there. So the guests to me are secondary. I know that's a driving force in selling tickets, getting people in the door, but to me as a vendor,
Right.
no, not really.
Nice. I know.
It's probably the smart way to
Oh
go.
yeah. I know a little bit about your artwork. Do you find that by the time you get done printing shirts and everything that you lose the drive to do your artwork, or has this helped give you that time you were hoping to have and inspire you?
Uh, it just comes in waves, like lately I've been really, really wanting to draw, and the thing is, when I do that, I stay so focused on it. I stay up all night and just won't go to bed. But I've had insomnia lately anyway, so I figure I should start drawing and doing this stuff now. And either that's going to work and turn into a T-shirt, or it's not. It doesn't matter.
Nice. And you take some of that artwork to other shows, especially regional, like close to home. You can take your metal work, and
Yeah, yeah.
does that change up your weekend at all?
Well, stuff like that because it's easier to travel. With some of that stuff is too bulky to ship or to take. Like if you're loading up a vehicle to go out of state, especially, it's hard to go with all that stuff. But here it's like, if it's close by, I figure I'm not taking as much a financial risk, so I can just load up the truck with stuff that if it sells, it sells, and if it doesn't, okay, whatever, it'll just go back on the wall at the shop.
Nice. You have any other questions,
So how
Mike?
did you get? Yeah, how did you get into the metalworking? I find some of those pieces to be amazing, actually.
Thank you. My dad, he's worked in metal, I guess the most of his working life. He does like duct work and things like that. And like now he designs that stuff for like huge buildings or whatever. So I just always had the notion, well, maybe we can like cut this stuff to where it looks like this, or when, just something that I'm not drawing on paper, something that could be a little different than what a lot of people do. And you've seen people at like trade shows sell stuff that like it'll be a fish or an old car or something like that. And those are pretty standard patterns. So with that, I wanted to do
Right.
stuff that I like, the horror stuff, and try to make that work. And at first, I was just doing basic silhouettes and kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it to where I can do uh, stuff to where you can instantly recognize who it is or what it is or what it's from. And I love doing that
Right.
stuff, man. It's that I really enjoy.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Yeah, that's great. It's if you're at a show that Joe's at and you're able to pick one of those up, I highly suggest that. So everything that you have is on fastcustomshirts.com, right?
Right. Now,
Full
the
inventory
metal
there.
work is not on there. I really don't sell that on the site.
Right.
It's hard to ship without getting damaged.
Yeah.
But if you want to see it, I have my Instagram page is T-shirt Joe, and everything I've ever cut, there's a picture on there of that.
Very cool.
Nice.
Very cool.
So
So
I have three quick questions for you. These are going to be easy, quick answers. Should we have a convention in Corpus Christi someday?
I think we should. I
All
think
right, we'll do
Horror
it.
Room by the beach would be outstanding.
Mike has to travel with me. You down, Mike?
I'm in. I'm totally in.
We can wedge
I've only
ourselves in
been
a
to Texas
airplane.
once.
Good.
Let's do it.
Second question. You and I've been behind a table for a weekend together, and Lisa, of course, has been behind a table. Who's better?
You, of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
Needed that for my ego. And my last question. This will be airing December 14th. For those listening on December 14th, December 15th, can they still get something for Christmas?
I don't know. I would usually say yes, but the postal service has been even worse than they usually are in the holidays right now, even this early. So, man, I would like to say yes, but I don't know. At that point, you're kind of rolling the dice.
I would still encourage people to do it because I know there's some things coming that I'm giving to family members that will be after Christmas this year because of shipping, and I'm not going to pass on cool things like your shirts or other type items just because of the COVID year and the post office. So yeah, still order.
Thank you.
That was my quick three, Mike. Do you have quick three?
What's your favorite color?
Black. That's a non-color, but
Popcorn.
Popcorn?
Popcorn. Butter or no butter?
Butter. Lots of butter. Drown it in that shit.
Light beer or regular
Oh,
Any beer.
there you go.
beer? Perfect.
If somebody else is buying it, I don't complain.
Well,
That's great.
Before we move on to the next stuff we wanted to talk about, is there anything that we missed that you'd like to talk about with Fast Custom Shirts, or tell the fans out there?
I would just like to thank anybody out there that's ever placed an order to get me to 11 years. I really couldn't have done it without the support of people buying stuff, and nobody's, I think, ever felt obligated to buy. Even now during the pandemic, they're buying stuff that they want to, and I'm glad that they like my stuff. It always, makes me feel good when I just randomly see somebody wearing a shirt, or if I see a picture of somebody on Facebook and they're wearing one of my shirts. That's cool. That's a great feeling.
Nice. Oh, that takes me to another question about your business then. You will also do, in certain situations, wholesaling if a store wants to carry.
Yeah, there's several shops. It's usually independent guys that have a record store or some kind of resale place or something of the sort that carry my stuff, and they purchase from me wholesale. And you're welcome to contact me through email, and I'll give anybody the lowdown on how that works.
Nice. I know you've been nice enough to let me do it when I was going to conventions that you weren't able to attend, and boy, that was a lot of fun because I was just doing it for kicks, and all of a sudden I was busy all weekend and turning profits, and I felt like T-shirt Joe for a couple of days.
And what's that email, Joe?
It's the name of the business, which is fastcustomshirts@gmail.com.
Nice.
Cool. Definitely wanted to get that out there. So we'll have that all in the show notes too, and links for everybody to click for easy access to get to those. So, Rich, what was the poll question this week?
So the poll
It was actually inspired by Joe.
Was it inspired by Joe?
Yeah, because I have noticed he's been making some posts of rewatching some films.
Oh, wait a second. We have some ad placement here. What do we got going on there, Joe?
I heard a little story about Rich drinking something called Hot Damn on an episode of the show you formerly had, and I'd never even heard of this stuff. So I asked Lisa to pick me up a bottle, and I usually only drink beer, and using some more placement there.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I don't have a shot glass, so this stuff looks horrid.
It is.
Some kind of pink concoction, like Robitussin, maybe.
Oh man, is it the same consistency as that too? Oh, that was a bad face.
Not for me.
I've never seen that reaction from you in any form of alcohol.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Oh.
I
Wow.
believe that was one of
Eyes
the.
are watering with that. Wow.
I believe that was one of the drinks that I was
Oh.
walking around Wasteland giving out shots and
Oh,
doing that with everybody, wasn't it, Mike?
Yes, it 100% was. That.
sorry to interrupt the flow of the show, but I just had to do that in
That's
honor
That's all right. That was
I
hilarious.
appreciate that. Your reaction was worth every moment.
Wow.
So anyway, the poll
Joe, you
question
didn't
was.
hear that. You didn't hear that. That what? Did you hear that Wasteland episode, Joe? Where Rich
I don't
was
think so. No.
crazy. Oh, okay. Yeah, that we broadcast it live. It was our first episode or our first episode on the network, and he was drinking the entire day at Wasteland, and our show was at midnight. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. I was just curious to see if you had heard it, but you didn't. But I forgot to hit the record button, so it's lost
Ah,
forever. But it's probably for the better
Joe,
because it
Joe,
had a lot of embarrassing moments.
I was so blackout drunk that I don't remember from about 5 in the afternoon
COVID.
until midnight.
Oh boy.
But somehow I showed up at like 11:55 for the show, even though I was blackout.
You still, man.
You
You're
did.
dedicated.
Yeah, they kind of were sorry that I showed up, to be honest. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yes, we were.
All right. Well, back to the poll question, and Mike's right. This was inspired by some posts we've seen you make recently. We wanted to talk about the movies that we thought were really good when we were younger or as children that didn't hold up as well when we saw them as adults. So we posted on HorrorRealm's page this week instead of doing a survey. And we only got a few responses. So I'll go down those real quick and get the reaction of the two of you, and then we can talk about our own personal movies that didn't hold up if you're into it. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. These were our responses. I was a teenage werewolf with Michael Landon. Thoughts?
I've never seen it. I don't know.
I can't imagine anybody thinking that was good in the first place, even as a child.
Well, I can't say anything about that. The next one was made for TV Dracula with Jack Palance.
That one, it still has some moments. No, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the one with Frank Langella. I don't really remember Palance's all that well.
I don't remember that well either, but I like Jack Palance, but I can't necessarily see him in a Dracula movie. The next one,
Yeah,
this was one I really liked. You haven't seen it? You're young.
No.
The next one, this one was on I liked a lot as a kid, but it does not hold up well. Saturday the 14th.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid, but I imagine that kind of humor doesn't resonate with me as well now as it did back then.
Yeah. Mike?
Yeah, no, I don't think that film. I don't think that film's holding up at all. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work today.
The next one, I don't know if we can say much on it because I'm not sure which version of this is, but The Raven. Is there one that comes to mind?
They're probably.
I could just think of the John Cusack one.
Oh, the John Cusack. That's fairly recent.
I was going to say, weren't we all adults?
It is.
It's
But you said that comes to mind. That's the only one I could think of.
No, there's a Hammer Vincent Price, I believe, The Raven, but yeah, I saw that when I was a kid. Haven't seen it since, so I don't know.
That's probably the one that they were talking about then. And the last one, this was an interesting one, and I don't disagree. Salem's Lot. Any thoughts?
It doesn't hold up, and that's like some of the ones I'm going to mention. It as a kid scared me. Like, no doubt, I had nightmares. You know, that scene with the kid floating outside the window was very effective. But now, no, it doesn't hold up. A lot of the performances don't hold up. I mean, you know, the vampire looks good.
The vampire still holds up, but that's about it for that movie. So nice.
Yeah, I saw that film as a kid, but I haven't seen it since. But the vampire was always, I remember always being the coolest part of that very long film.
Yeah, I guess it was a TV miniseries, right? That was broken up
Yeah,
into
right.
Yeah,
movies, I think.
yeah.
Yep.
And I saw that when it aired. That's how old I am.
I did too. Well, because I'm older than you, I think we determined this year.
Maybe. I can never remember my
Right.
age.
Yeah, something. I don't know if I ID'd you this year or what, but I think we determined I'm a touch older. Well, you said you had some thoughts on some movies that you were going to mention. What were you thinking?
The Shining.
That's one of mine.
The Shining was one of the scariest movies as a kid that I watched. I had just a panic about those two little girls like waiting for me at every corner. The whole movie had a atmosphere, and it freaked me out as a kid. But I rewatched it with my daughter maybe 5-6 years ago, and it plays off more as a comedy now. You know, it's just so like some of the performances are really, really bad, and just some of the setup is so implausible. It doesn't work for me anymore.
I couldn't agree more. I feel the same way. I still enjoy watching it for the atmosphere that you mentioned, but not as a horror film any longer. It's a visually stunning movie.
Yeah, I think it falls in the trap. I feel more style than substance, and I think Suspiria falls into that for me.
I agree.
And I think I always felt that The Shining, without Jack's performance, that movie, nobody would talk about that movie. You know what I mean? Like he did everything that he could to make that film what it was, the success that it was. But I just thought, it was Kubrick, you know, blowing himself like he liked to do, and I don't know. It's just boring to me now. I guess if Jack's not on the screen, I don't care about what's going on at
Yeah.
all. So.
Well, and I know Joe's a big reader, and I've been most of my life a big reader, and there's so many elements from that book not in the movie. That makes it more difficult for me to watch as well.
Yeah, but I would also say that the success of the movie was very integral in making Stephen King what he became. I don't think he would be like our horror literary god that he is now without this movie. So he owes a lot of thanks to Kubrick.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and he'll never give it to him.
Right.
No. What was another one, Joe, that you had?
The Amityville Horror, the original, and again another movie that just freaked me out as a kid, and now I just think is just so boring. I think the best thing about that movie is the score. The music is incredible. The music is very effective.
That it is.
But overall, the film itself is not scary. Not scary to me now at all. It's just treads water the whole day.
I always thought Brolin's performance was just comical at times. It's just he was not effective as a bad guy at all. I just couldn't buy it.
It makes a movie about hell or the devil or possession very not very scary. I'm not as fearful of the devil after watching that movie.
Yeah, it's like, so the devil, if when I go to hell eventually, because I will, it's just going to be boredom. I guess that is kind of scary, but
the flies will get a little annoying.
Lifetime.
As long as there's good music to listen to, I guess it's fine.
That's funny. You're reading down my list so far.
The third one that I have is, and I just came up with these on my head because I didn't know the topic beforehand, but a movie that fucked me up as a kid was The Sentry. Now, I thought that was the scariest thing that you could see. And then when I found, I guess it was a DVD or something, and so I looked at the cast, and it's like, what an amazing cast. And it's like, I have such fond memories of this movie. and rewatched it, and it's like, man, this is just, it's offensively bad. You know, like you get mad at it watching. And man, you know, Jeff Goldblum's in this, Beverly D'Angelo's in this. It's just, man, and it's, God, it's horrible. It is a horrible flick.
I've not seen it as a kid. That's interesting. I'll have to rewatch it just to get as angry as you.
That's funny. I've never seen the film, but now I want to watch it first to see how bad it is.
I mean, watch it and look at that cast. A lot of the people on there went on to big, big things, and man, it's like, what scared me? What scared me so bad as a kid? You know, I want to go back and beat myself up. Like, quit being such a little punk. You know, this isn't scary.
That's hilarious.
Did you have any you'd like to add to the list, Mike?
Yeah, one that just popped into my head was a TV film starring William Shatner, and it's not the one where the gremlin is tearing out the engine parts or whatever. It's called Terror at 47,000 Feet.
Oh yeah.
And it's about a haunted plane. And I I got my hands on the film at HorrorRealm actually, and I watched it again. But this film, like, I was terrified of this film beyond measure. I couldn't sleep. It was like a week or so before I went to sleep because they couldn't go to the back of the plane because shit would melt. So there was one scene where this baby doll got like tossed back to the back of the plane and it just melts. And as a kid, man, I was like 4 or something or 5. As a kid, I was just like, what the fuck is going on? Yeah, watching it now, not good. It's it's pitiful. Have any of you guys ever seen it? It was TV. I think ABC put it out.
No, but I'm going to. I'm definitely going to go.
I'll definitely check it out.
I'll have to look in my movies to see if I can find it. But yeah, I'll send you guys something.
Is he the captain?
No, he's not. He's just I believe he's a doctor, maybe even a psychologist. But it is just absolutely ridiculous, and I can't believe it scared me as a kid.
We need to live stream this movie.
Then another. No, I'm sure nobody owns the rights to it. I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to. Another one was 976 Evil. Yeah, don't drink that again, Joe. I just remember at the video store, the box art looking so cool, and you know the premise sounded decent, and you watched it, and it was okay as a kid. You know, it didn't. I guess my brain wasn't fully developed, but you know, later on in life, I watched it, and I just am not a fan of that film.
Now with that one, I think I picked it up maybe 8 years ago on a compilation, like DVD thing, and it's totally forgettable because I can't remember a thing about it. You know, so,
Exactly.
so yeah, I guess it is as bad as you say. But didn't was that the one that Robert Englund directed the sequel to? Did they make?
No, he directed the original.
Part 2?
Yeah, they did make a part 2 that didn't do very well, but he directed the first one.
Oh, okay, okay.
He was the director.
All right.
Yeah.
No, I can't remember a thing about that movie.
Yeah, it was just about a haunted calling machine that would just call like robocalls, you know, but like old school rotary phones, and the demon would come and try to kill you through the phone. And I guess as a kid, I was like, I'm never touching a phone again. But then as an adult, I'm like, I'm never watching this again. So it worked out. And then I have one last one, and it's a group of films, and I'm going to say all of the Nightmare on Elm Streets except the first one. And I think the third one you could maybe make an argument for, but I still think the first one's a solid flick, but after that, they just get unwatchable.
I agree. The first one is a solid flick. From there, my whole issue with this is Freddy's a pedophile, right? Do we agree on that? He's a
Yes,
pedophile. I don't
we do.
I don't agree with him becoming a hero and a fucking like guy, a jokester, and like, hey, yeah, I love Freddy.
Exactly.
Oh, you love this guy that fucks kids? It's like so.
Right?
But no, but aside from that, I just think the movies as a whole, the sequels just become a big joke. Uh, they're a joke. They're just movies I don't care about.
I agree
He
with
just
you.
becomes a caricature of himself. The first
Mhm.
one, he was just raw and gritty and fucking
Yeah,
terrible, and that's what he should have been,
right.
And
He's a
he just
pedophile, and
became, like you said, a
pedophiles should
jokester.
be scary.
Exactly. Uh,
You even look at I forget which one it was, but where they show how he's conceived and his nun mom raped by all the men to create him or whatever. But they still
yeah.
had all the Freddy, I'm a jokester in there. And like, that's another heavy subject that they just kind of put in the middle of a horror comedy. I killed the room.
Now,
A lot of people,
you know,
a lot of people that I've talked to involved in the films and panels, there's a lot of defenders out there that say, well, you need a comedy with horror. There needs that balance. And for me, I don't. I mean, sometimes it's done really well, like Shaun of the Dead, but I don't need it to, I don't need that up and down. Like I would like a horror film to just grab me by the throat from the beginning and not let go till the end, and sometimes not even then.
no, I
But that's just my take on.
totally, Mike, because Shaun of the Dead is more of a comedy than it is a horror film. It just takes horror
Right.
elements and makes a comedy of it. To where like the true horror films, hey, they leave you feeling shallow. They leave you scared, or they should not like have you like walking out of the theater or now just sitting at your home feeling good about yourself or whatever.
Right?
They should hurt you in some way.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
Like we've mentioned before, The Mist, I think, is one of the perfect horror films, because when you watch the end, that's a gut punch and a half. There's nothing happy about that ending, and I don't know why horror films have to give the happy ending.
There's nothing happy about the
And
whole
not the sexual.
that sets the tone, and it is like,
Yep.
hey, you're not in for a pleasant ride here, and
Right.
that's
I
what horror
completely
is.
agree.
You
Yep.
guys have said
I totally
you
agree
guys
with
have
you.
said happy ending and pleasant ride so many times. All I can think of are massage parlors.
Of course. Now, Rich, did you have any?
I had two
Uh,
that I was going to mention. Since Joe and I were on the same wavelength with some others. The first one, it's another Stephen King. I really liked it as a kid, and I thought the atmosphere was kind of spooky. Which was Children of the Corn. And I got to remember, I'm running this as a
agreed.
kid. Now, as an adult, I rewatched it over Halloween this year, and boy, it does not hold up at all. Have you guys seen it?
I watched this as it premiered on HBO. Like didn't see it in the theater, and like I remember pissing my mom off because she was watching Urban Cowboy on another channel, and it's like, hey, mom, you got to change it. You got to change it. I want to watch Children of the Corn. And finally, she reluctantly changed the channel. The whole HBO logo thing comes on. I'm super excited. Uh, but even as a kid, I had to admit this was not a good movie. And like my mom's looking at me the whole time, like, "Hey, you made me change Urban Cowboy for this."
Oh, well, you were more evolved as a child than I was then, because I liked it then.
Yeah, and you were older, as we've established.
But maybe I saw it sooner.
Maybe
Maybe it was for rental before it was on HBO.
could be.
That's what I'm going to go with. How about you, Mike? Have you watched that film over the years?
Yeah, I liked it as a kid because, I mean, as a kid, it's like, shit, like, you can do this. This is great. They're my age, blah, 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 whatever. And now you watch it and you're like, no, it's just not a good movie. I don't like it at all.
As remote as that town was, I still don't know how the hell somebody from the state, didn't need to check on it once in a while. The utility companies or, National Guard should
You
have
got
been
to
in there
suspend a
before.
lot of disbelief.
Yeah. But my other one, this one is, and I should preface this with, I still think it's a good movie, but I don't think it holds up as well as when I first saw it as a kid. I remember I was 10 years old when this came out, and it was the summer, and at my little league practices and games, the guys who had seen it were talking about it, and they were scaring me just talking about the movie. And then I finally got to see it, and I couldn't sleep for nights because of it. And that was Poltergeist. And I love that movie. I thought it was scary as could be. Now I watch it, and like I said, it's still a good movie, but as an older person, it doesn't have that same scare factor. It doesn't grip me the same way. Any thoughts?
I
Go ahead,
still
Joe.
think it's a good movie, man. Yeah, as a kid, I thought it was, it had some really good frights. But even now, and I watched this again just a couple of years ago, what carries it is the performances. Craig T. Nelson and who is it, Jo Beth Williams?
Yes. Yeah.
They're great. They're great in their roles. They're, the two kids, and it's rare to get those kind of performances, like realistic performances from kids. The little boy especially is amazing. He conveys fright like it's real. You got Jerry Goldsmith doing the score, and that score is beautiful.
The score is amazing.
Yeah, this is to get into a different argument. This is not a Tobe Hooper movie.
Right.
I think it holds up, man. I got to disagree with you on this one.
Well, remember, I said it's still a good movie. It just doesn't hold up as a scary movie to me anymore. I don't get spooked by it. And maybe it's just a personal thing.
Yeah.
Because I don't disagree with any of the quality that you mentioned. I actually find part 2 at this stage of my life spookier than part 1.
Now that one I rewatched and didn't care for, but I'm curious to hear Mike's view on part 1 first.
Oh no, I part 1 is a big nostalgia film for me. My mom got me into horror, and that's one of the films that we started with. And so I think it's one of the better done horror films that I don't even know if they said to the cast and crew like this is a horror film, because I know the horror films are kind of like a dirty word to people. So did they make this look like something else so they can sign the contract and be like, no, just kidding, it's Poltergeist. But the performances and everything, I always dug it. But I remember I did want to talk about Poltergeist 2 a little bit, and you said that you didn't like it, and I was like, oh man, that Kane scared the shit out of me as a kid. Like just a creepy son of a bitch that you don't ever want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that, and I rewatched it over over Halloween, I think. And yeah, other than him, that movie's dog shit. Like it is terrible.
Completely.
Like if it was like if it was just little blocks of him, like that's all you need. That's it. Just him and the little girl. And it's just creepy, and then we'll be done with it.
He's fantastic. He's creepy. The whole thing with Will Sampson is just dumb. The whole, like, they bring in this Native American mythology into this thing that's just, what? What the fuck?
Like, what are we doing this for? Oh, man, such a disappointment. Like, I remember even the previews of that and just seeing Kane walking in the previews. I was like, oh, like, this isn't going to be good at all.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
No, he's fantastic.
Was great.
He's amazing.
Rich, what did you think of Poltergeist 2?
I actually am creeped out more by the Kane scenes than anything from the first one at this stage. And I agree that the movie as a whole is not a good movie, but I can watch it just to see his scenes. I wish we would have gotten more of him in the franchise, but obviously the franchise, he didn't need to be in the first one. I like how it led from the first to the second, but I wish there could have been a third or fourth. I mean, if we're gonna have 18 of everything else, I wish we could have had more Poltergeist and more.
Well, they
of
had
him.
a series, even though it had nothing to do with
It
it.
did. Well, what
Yeah, I
did you
never
guys think
watched
of the
that.
third one?
What's that?
Did you ever see the third one?
Again, I rewatched that this year, and I remember because I saw that one in the theater and thought, man, this is some really cool stuff they did with the mirrors and everything, but it doesn't hold up now.
Right.
It's just
Yeah.
just stupid, And I like Tom Skerritt. I like him a lot, but he's not given much to do. It's ridiculous. The whole thing's kind of dumb.
That's a movie that doesn't need to be part
Yeah.
of the franchise.
No. As bad as 2 is, at least it's not the third one. Is what but Joe, thank you for coming on and talking horror with us and talking a little bit about your business. We appreciate you coming on and always supporting the show also.
Yeah, I appreciate giving the time to just chat with you guys and catch up, man. Thanks so
That was
much.
awesome. Thank you.
Definitely. Rich, it's always nice to chat with you as well.
Yes, we don't
never
do this.
that. But again, thank you all for listening. We truly appreciate it. Go to fastcustomshirts.com and pick up some amazingly rad t-shirts. Check that out. And it's something you always want to support no matter what's going on. HorrorRealmCon.com as well as otherworldlyculture.com. Go check out some of the cool stuff that's going on over there. Thank you all again for listening. We are Horror Realm Radio, the show that won't stay dead.